Oh, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. I'm the Rebel Commander here at rebelnews.com. Pardon me, every day at 12 noon. We have a live stream. I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My colleagues David Menzies and Sheila Gunn Reid do it Tuesday, Thursday. Sometimes we have other cameo appearances. Keean Bexty, Andrew Chapados. The other day, Yankee Pollock was on, and even Mocha Bazirgan. We've had a whole roster of different rebels. I can't remember if Drea or Tamara were on because I was away. Not yet, I hear in my ear, but I'm sure one day we'll introduce you to them in the form of the live stream. I like the live stream for a number of reasons here. Number one is it's live, which means we can talk about things immediately without the time delay of producing it, editing it, uploading it, etc. Number two, I like the chat function. Obviously, I can't read every single chat. There's just too many and they go by too quickly. But I do endeavor and generally succeed in reading every super chat. Super chat is when you throw a few bucks behind a chat comment, puts it in a bright highlighted color, sticks it to the top of the chat window there. And if I miss it in real time, which I usually do, Justin, our producer, sends me a little message and I go back and I read them. It's not just fun, but we get to keep 70% of the dough. YouTube takes a pretty big commission, but they do pass on 70% to us, which is good because, as you know, YouTube has largely demonetized our page. I like the engagement with people. I like the daily. I like the fact that the preparation for a live stream isn't the same sort of, well, let me script every word and we'll do this and do that. I just come in and typically Justin gives me a sheet like this that just has things that he's seen me been tweeting about or talking about. So it's sort of a rough, here's some visual elements that are ready to roll. Obviously, if you watched my live streams before, you know I send him on urgent errands to find a Shakespearean sonnet or something like that. So we mix it up and we go on rambles and tangents, which is obviously the main reason I like it. Chris Marchese, do you like Donald Trump? I think he's great. I think Donald Trump is really all that's standing between civilization and chaos. And if you doubt it, look at any Democrat-controlled city in the United States on any given night. And it's important to point out that the cities with the riots are run by Democrat mayors. Sometimes the police chiefs or police commissions are Democrat. I look at cities like Minneapolis, Portland, where basically there's been a war on not just police, but a war on policing, and the war comes from the city itself. And last night in a small city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, it's 100,000 people there, and it's not in the South where you have historic racial tensions. It wasn't a slave state. It's in the Midwest, 100,000 people. It's a drive from Chicago, so maybe some folks came up. Chicago is a hotbed of radical activism. But just pure rioting. Donald Trump offered 750 National Guardsmen to come in. The governor, a Democrat, said, no, don't. And it turned into utter mayhem, torching of businesses, torching of cars, smashing. And as I mentioned, the Democrat governor basically told the police to stand down, and nature abhors a vacuum. And so into the vacuum of defund police, this Democrat ideology, well, you will see rioters who feel like they have impunity. Look at that. That's in a small town. We would call it a small, it's 100,000 people in Kenosha. Would you agree with that? We'll call it a small city. Look at that. Where are the fire trucks? Where are the police? Well, the governor told them they don't have to come around. Look at that, exploded. Looks like a gas tank just exploded there. So the rioters know they can fill the void with impunity, but there are some shopkeepers, like that auto dealer there. Has he spent 20, 30 years of his life building it, maybe more? It's not just bricks and mortar and glass and cars, it's part of his life. Every single part of that store, he has a memory. He built this, arranged that, fixed that, bought that, sold that. His life and the life of that auto dealership are intertwined. I feel that way about Rebel News because I was here on day one when we founded it, and then we moved from my home to a temporary office in a hotel, to a temporary shared office, to our first big space, to it. Like, just every single thing about the company has a little memory for me. You could call it corporate memory or corporate culture. So it's not just, a chair is not just a chair anymore. Oh, I remember that and this story with that, and remember this happened. So it's your life. And so when you think of the stores and the shops that were burned to a crisp, it's lives that are being burnt too. It's not just an inanimate object. And by lives, I don't mean human life. I mean the stories and the histories of lives. By the way, there were some murders last night, or killings at least, because some people thought, you know what? I put 10, 20, 30 years into my business. I am not going to put my trust in princes. I'm not going to put my trust in a police force that has been defanged. So look, pump up the volume. Can you pump up the volume on this one here? And the reason why is that guy in the red shirt, he's swearing. He's a Black Lives Matter guy. He's swearing at a black businessman, and he's using the N-word. So there's a point here. So he's allegedly a Black Lives Matter activist, but he's shouting at a black shopkeeper, including with the N-word. Oh, we can't. Well, it's not. It's. I think we're okay with this video because it's. I think it's okay. But listen to what he says. He's a Black Lives Matter protester. He's white, and he's telling the shopkeeper. There, that guy. So, I don't know if you heard it. I don't want you to particularly hear it, but I want you to know it. That guy in the pink shirt there with the bald head, he's, if I understand correctly, and I stand to be corrected, I mean, there was the fog of war, let's say, you can see that there were shopkeepers with a lot of guns, shopkeepers and their families. Even if the governor was going to let their town burn, these guys weren't going to. They had seen enough in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Seattle, in Washington, D.C., in these big Democrat-run cities. They'd seen enough, and they decided, no. We have the Second Amendment in the United States. They're going to go out there lawfully to defend their property. And I guess Wisconsin is an open carry state. And including black businessmen, obviously. And that one Black Lives Matter guy, who happened to be white, was using the N-word, the anti-black epithet, even though he claimed to be with Black Lives Matter. Isn't that curious? Isn't that curious? I think that exact guy, bald head, earrings, what color would you call that shirt? Not really pink, purple, orange, sort of ochre? Is that the color of that? I think it's that exact guy who was later shot. Do you have an image of shot by because he was obviously aggressive and picking fights. I think he might have even had a gun himself. I'm not sure. Do you have that vid? I think the Daily Caller had someone on the ground. Daily Caller had some shocking vids. They were on the scene along with some other journalists. Not a lot of mainstream media there. It's Kenosha. It's a small town. I doubt they have a network TV franchise in town. They probably just get Chicago TV or Milwaukee TV. But lots of independent journalists. Daily Caller was there, and I think The Blaze was there. And I think that guy was shot on camera, not by a cop. It was a cop-free zone. And so nature abhors a vacuum. Things rush in to fill the void. And I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it was wrong. We don't have the facts, and I'm not the judge. But someone on the ground, with or without right, I don't know, shot that guy. I think it was him. And that's the thing, is there are some very calm, rational, hard to provoke people who would defend their property and who would rather shoo away a rioter than shoot him. But there are hotheads on all sides, and when you remove the professional, trained police and let anyone else fill the void, you, as Donald Trump said in a tweet a month ago, where there is rioting, there will be shooting. Do we have that viz? Okay, so Justin's worried that we shouldn't show the actual shooting. Okay, I take your point. Can we see the aftermath of the shooting? The Daily Caller guy, there's just rules about live streams, and we don't want to show shootings on a live stream. I think there's a YouTube rule about that. But can we show the aftermath when actually a Daily Caller reporter provides first aid to that guy? I just really want to show the face of the guy. The Daily Caller reporter, I think, took off his shirt and used it as sort of a, not quite a tourniquet, but like a bandage. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's the same guy. So that's he was shot on the side of the head. Everyone's filming it. The Daily Caller guy actually took off his shirt. I think that's the same guy. I didn't mean to gross you out, and let's not show any more of those images. But I think you have two narratives going on right now in America. You have the law and order, let's build the economy, things are good, this is a great country, patriotic narrative of the Republicans and Donald Trump. They have their Republican National Conference or Convention right now where they formally nominate Trump. And then you have this alternative narrative that you might say, Ezra, why are you ascribing to the Democrat Party these violent actions on the street that are clearly just rioters, rogues, criminals? Why are you putting that around the neck of the Democrats? Well, there's a few reasons for it, obviously. Number one, it's because the Democrats refuse to condemn them. Can you call up that old Keean video when he went to Washington, D.C. and he met the squad? You know that one? One of Keean's first visits to Congress. Very effective. Keean just went into Congress and asked the squad, including AOC, will you renounce Black Lives Matter or Antifa-style terrorism? And none of them would. So they won't renounce it. They are allies. There's a phrase on the left, diversity of tactics, which, what does that mean? Well, it's a term of art on the left, which means this guy is a professor. He will make the academic case for the left. This guy's a donor. He will give money for the left. This guy is a politician. He will pass laws for the left. And this guy is a street thug. He will smash cars and burn things for the left. We all have our different tactics, but we're all on the same team. Let us not splinter or split. Let's only aim our guns at our common enemy, and any differences between us we'll either ignore, swallow, or resolve in private. And there's a tacit or explicit acceptance of violence. When you say diversity of tactics, there's no diversity of tactics on the right. There is no equivalent on the right of Antifa, of Black Lives Matter. There are no pro-Republican riots. That's not a thing. It is a thing on the Democrat side, and as I mentioned several times already, the governor of Wisconsin specifically refused Donald Trump's offer of heavy assistance because it's all about the 2020 presidential election, and no Democrat wants to be seen in any way agreeing with, let alone supporting or obeying Donald Trump. That's why the Democrats don't want schools to resume. That's why Democrats want a state of fear with the pandemic, which was over in May, really. Everything has to be looked at through the lens of the 2020 Trump re-election. That's how the Dems do it. Let me show you a video, very prescient, Keean Bexley, down in Congress, asking Democrats if they would disavow violence. Take a look.
Will you condemn the Antifa attack in Washington over the weekend? It's easy to condemn terrorism. Will you condemn it?
Is it fear?
Antifa firebombed a facility in Tacoma over the weekend. It's an ICE facility. Will you condemn them for that? Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. We're wondering if you'll condemn the ICE attack again, the Antifa attack against an ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington over the weekend. No? Do you condemn Antifa for their violent actions against American law enforcement?
Okay, so now you're getting in the way of me walking, so I'm asking you to please back up. Sir?
Do you condemn Antifa?
What I'm condemning is a lack of journalistic integrity, and you are not respecting my physical space right now. And I'm going to ask you to step away.
And Antifa didn't respect the integrity of that building.
You can give me a card and we can respond.
So you're not going to condemn them? This isn't a journalistic ethics thing. I'm asking questions that CNN won't. Will you condemn Antifa?
Sir, asking one more time to please scoot over.
Now, these questions that I asked them were very simple, and of course they didn't.
Well, there you have it. That was a year ago. So when you say, why are you ascribing to the Democrats these riots? Well, because they're the street teams. They're the same mission, the same motives. It's part of what they call diversity of tactics. We have to be careful about showing firearms in a live stream. That's a very specific YouTube rule. So we're not going to show any more of that in a live stream. You can show different things on YouTube in a produced video than in a live stream. It's just a technical rule they have. I'm going to read some super chats, and then I want to show you. Actually, you know what? Before I go to the super chats, can we show the Washington, D.C. Red Guards struggle session mob vids? If you're on conservative Twitter at all, you've probably seen these. So I showed you the violent at-night riots, arson, shootings side of the Antifa movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. Let me show you the daytime side, which in some ways is more terrifying. This is from Washington, D.C., a city that's about 90% Democrat. And I understand that the woman in this video is, in fact, a Democrat and is sort of a Black Lives Matter supporter. But an actual mob, straight out of the Red Guard, straight out of Mao's Cultural Revolution, straight out of 1969 Beijing, go to some restaurant patio, apropos of nothing, pick random white people, apropos of nothing, and scream at them and physically get right into their face and say, raise your fist in solidarity with me. What does that mean, raise your fist? Is that did you just eliminate racism? I think you did. You went like that. You just eliminated racism. There's a funny tweet by Ian Miles Cheong, maybe you could find it, of, it might be in Kenosha, maybe it's somewhere else, of a dinosaur museum. And they knocked over a dinosaur outside. And this, congratulations guys, you torched the auto dealership. We thought that would have ended racism. It didn't. So we turned it up to 11. And Black Lives Matter rioters attacked the Kenosha Dinosaur Discovery Museum and tore down a statue of a dinosaur in the name of racial justice. So you see, that dinosaur was a symbol of racism, I think. And he had to fall. So I guess that didn't work. So they torched the cars, that didn't work. They knocked down the dinosaur. And I don't know why racism is still on. I thought that dinosaur move for sure would have stopped it. So going around Washington, D.C., and 90% 98% Democrat city and randomly telling restaurant goers to go like that. If that doesn't cure racism, maybe we have to rethink our strategy. Take a look at this video. I love that line at the end. Are you Christian? Are you Christian? There's so many possible meanings there. As in that shrieking red guard is trying to say, well, if you were Christian, you would do this. Appealing to the woman's Christianity. I don't think she was Christian. The other darker possibility is, oh, who would possibly stand up to the mob? We're terrifying. We're literally inches from her face. We're shrieking at her. We're surrounding her. We could go violent at any moment. I note that every single one of them was as white as the Arctic Circle. There was not a single person there who could call themselves black or a visible minority. It was a bunch of woke white liberals shrieking at another woke white liberal. So I think that, are you Christian? Are you Christian? I think what that means is, we're startled by the fact that you will not bend the knee to us. We're unaccustomed to having anyone stand up to the mob. Who would have the resilience to be so independent-minded? Well, maybe someone who believes in something else, something even bigger than a mob, maybe a Christian? I think that's what that meant. I think we have another video in the same vein. Look at this one.
Put your mask on now, huh? Motherfucker. Tasty piece of shit.
Wow, racism, white supremacy. Hey! Get somebody get.
Was that the whole clip? Did we see the mustache guy sitting just to the right there? Did he raise his fist in one of the vids? Maybe not in that one, but I saw different versions of that vid. Again, just going up to a couple, just having lunch, daytime, just right in their face, right in their personal space. Yeah, there he is. You see, so he put his arm up. Now, why? I think, again, that's in Washington. So, yeah. So odds are, yeah, thanks for showing that. So, oh, that girl, yes. So there are some people who immediately comply, including that guy. Show that guy with the mustache. So why is he doing that? Did he just stop racism like the guy who knocked down the Kenosha dinosaur? Did that man just stop racism? Literally on a patio, drinking a beer. I think he did it. I think we've got a Nobel Prize for peace right there. By raising his hand, I think, no, of course he didn't. So why would he do that? Would he have done that if the mob were not there? I don't think so. That would be a little bit weird, wouldn't it? I think that was his way of saying, please don't shout at me, young lady. You saw there were a lot of swear fingers being deployed there. So not really persuasion, but more a bit of a threat, bit of a menace, certainly insulting. And when someone's right in your face, shouting a little bit wild and emotionally unhinged, will they hit you in the face? I don't know, why not? I mean, we've seen riot, we've seen murder. So that loser with the mustache and that gal in the front, why do I call them a loser? Because they're saying, all right, I've sized up the mob and I've sized up myself. And it is my determination that I must submit, surrender, comply, subordinate myself. I must obey, because that is the easier way than to ignore them, dispute them, refute them, defy them. Are you a Christian? Are you a Christian? As per that other video. So yeah, the irony is Washington, D.C. is 90% Democrat. Welcome to your life under the Democrats. Now you might be saying, well, Ezra, Donald Trump is the president. This isn't your life under the Democrats. This is your life under President Trump. Yeah, that's a problem. One of the things about the United States of America, you can see it right there in the name, is it's a collection of states and some territories like D.C. itself. And it's not a unified, unitary state, rather, where the president just does. It's not like France. It is a collection of states. So there are some ways in which Donald Trump can send in federal police. He did that in Minneapolis and Portland, rather. Excuse me. He did that in Portland when they were attacking the federal courthouse. So if there's a federal courthouse, sorry, I've got a crick in my neck. Go ahead, Justin. Justin points out that in this other image, it looks like that woman's table mate is putting up her hand. So she just fixed racism also. Again, every person in this photo is white, I think. Certainly the main actor is in it. Donald Trump can send in federal police to protect a federal court. That's what he did in Portland. But how can Donald Trump just go into Washington, D.C. and do a restaurant patrol or something, patio patrol? That's really in the hands of the D.C. Police Commission. And you have the defund police movement sweeping across Democrat cities like Los Angeles, like New York City. New York City, I believe, is the finest police force in the world, which is also a significant counterterrorism police force. New York City went from one of the most violent cities in America in the 70s through Rudy Giuliani, and then actually Mike Bloomberg continued the policing strategy, became one of the safest cities in America despite its size. And much of the credit goes to the New York Police Department. They've been defunded, denormalized, and demonized by the mayor himself and others. And so this kind of lawlessness is coming to America's big cities because for various reasons I won't get into now, a lot of America's big cities happen to be run by Democrats. And I think you're seeing two different narratives and two different choices. Now there's a perverse sort of hostage style, Stockholm Syndrome style, ransom style approach I hear from some of the Biden people who are saying, vote Biden and the pain will stop. Vote Biden and the riots will stop. If you don't vote for Biden, we're going to keep... And Joel Pollack and I have talked about this in the past, as in this trouble is happening on Trump's watch, and it's stressful and it's exhausting, and maybe some people will think, yeah, maybe just vote for Biden and he'll come to some understanding with these folks. These folks are obviously tied to the Democrats. So let's just give Biden what he wants, give the rioters what he wants, and make the pain stop. There are some people who think that way. The other way is to fight. Fight with the law and fight with crime-fighting tools like police. Can you see if you can find the clip of that couple from, where were they? That defended their home. Yeah, the St. Louis couple who live in a home that they restored. It's like a museum. It's very fancy. And it's in a private community, and a big Antifa-style mob came right outside and threatened them, and then Mom and Dad came out with their guns, Dad with a semi-automatic rifle and Mom with a little, yeah, so maybe you remember this. Yeah, so take this down and show me, so that's a good way to remind people. But can you, I think they gave a speech last night at the RNC, this couple. If you can find that speech, I'd love to show it on the live stream. Thank you. I'll take this opportunity to read some super chats because I'm behind on that. And then I want to show you a video from Australia that is, I think, the most unsettling video I have seen in years, absolutely in years. Let's play that speech while we're on the subject of the St. Louis couple. So here's
We are
that
Mark
couple.
and Patty McCloskey. We're speaking to you tonight from St. Louis, Missouri, where just weeks ago you may have seen us defending our home as a mob of protesters descended on our neighborhood.
America is such a great country that not only do you have the right to own a gun and use it to defend yourself, but thousands of Americans will offer you free advice on how to use it. At least that's what we experienced. What you saw happen to us could just as easily happen to any of you who are watching from quiet neighborhoods around our country. And that's what we want to speak to you about tonight.
That's exactly right. Whether it's the defunding of police, ending cash bail so criminals can be released back out on the streets the same day to riot again, or encouraging anarchy and chaos on our streets, it seems as if the Democrats no longer view the government's job as protecting honest citizens from criminals, but rather protecting criminals from honest citizens. Not a single person in the out-of-control mob you saw at our house was charged with a crime. But you know who was? We were. They've actually charged us with felonies for daring to defend our home. On top of that, consider this. The Marxist liberal activist leading the mob to our neighborhood stood outside our home with a bullhorn screaming, "You can't stop the revolution." Just weeks later, that same Marxist activist won the Democrat nomination to hold a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. In the city of St. Louis, that's the same as winning the general election. That Marxist revolutionary is now going to be the Congresswoman from the 1st District of Missouri. These radicals are not content with marching in the streets. They want to walk the halls of Congress. They want to take over. They want power. This is Joe Biden's party. These are the people who will be in charge of your future and the future of your children.
They're not satisfied with spreading the chaos and violence into our communities. They want to abolish the suburbs altogether by ending single-family home zoning. This forced rezoning would bring crime, lawlessness, and low-quality apartments into now thriving suburban neighborhoods. President Trump smartly ended this government overreach, but Joe Biden wants to bring it back. These are the policies that are coming to a neighborhood near you. So make no mistake, no matter where you live, your family will not be safe in the radical Democrats' America.
At this moment in history, if you stand up for yourself and for the values our country was founded on, the mob, spurred on by their allies in the media, will try to destroy you. You've seen us on your TV screens and Twitter feeds. You know that we're not the kind of people who back down. Thankfully, neither is Donald Trump. President Trump will defend the God-given right of every American to protect their homes and their families. But more than that, Trump's vision for America is a country where you have an opportunity.
It goes on for a bit, but it's quite something to see them speak that way, isn't it? I think they're right. I think that what the norms of society, the social contract, as Hobbes would call it, where we all agree to certain basic rules, it's the fundamental principle behind a civilian-style police department. Not a police state, but a police department that answers to civic politicians. The only way that a lightly policed community works is if it has the consent and the submission of the people who are being policed. A law only works in a democracy, a liberal democracy, if 99% of us, whatever, agree to abide by the law. Even if we disagree with the law, we agree to abide by the law, and we agree to change the law if we want it changed through democratic means. If you had 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of people breaking a law, that law wouldn't even be a law anymore, would it? It would be a suggestion. And eventually, for example, in the case of Canada and marijuana laws, they just weren't even enforced. So de facto, marijuana was decriminalized in Canada more than a decade ago. Police just didn't really charge. They would throw in a marijuana charge, a possession, marijuana possession, if they were charging someone with a fight or a stabbing, and they found a marijuana joint on him, they'd throw that on the pile if they were charging him for something else. But to be charged with marijuana possession alone was almost unheard of in Canada for a decade before official decriminalization. That's what happens when a sufficient mass of people just don't believe in the law anymore. It doesn't work. That's one of the reasons why prohibition of alcohol really didn't work. If the norms of society no longer conform to the law as written, it's one thing when we change or abolish or abandon the law on smoking marijuana. But it's quite another with riot, trespass, looting, burning, going onto someone's home, burning someone's home, attacking someone's home, threatening someone in their home. If we don't have 95, 99% acceptance in the community of those norms, that it's taboo to take a masked, violent arson protest to someone's home in the suburbs, home anywhere, home downtown. If we don't have that consensus anymore, then it's going to fall apart. The only way that light policing works is if the community basically polices itself, if individuals police themselves, and then the police come in and do what the rest of the community wants. That's what's so interesting. I don't know if you, remember we showed that morning consult poll way back in the day. I don't know if you'd be able to find that. But there's probably other polls since then. I remember right after these riots started, a very reputable, very large American pollster called Morning Consult. Have you ever heard of them? They did a poll on the reaction that different Americans would have to Donald Trump sending in the National Guard and even sending in the actual military. And the reason I found that poll so useful is it broke it down by gender, of course, by age, of course, by race, and by party, Republican, Democrat. And what was astounding to me is how badly Black Americans wanted not just a police response, but a National Guard response. It's been a couple months since I've looked at that Morning Consult poll, so I'm not going to try and remember the exact numbers. If you can find it, Justin, great. Or there might be other polls. I just remember that one was by that company called Morning Consult. I bet there's been other polls since, and that was the first big one. Black Americans want help to police their communities. And they know that the vast majority of police and policing are not incidents like, you know, police brutality or racial or anything like that. In fact, a lot of police are black. Not that black people can't be racist. I'm just saying this whole narrative that woke white liberals have, that police are white racists who pick on blacks, that is not the narrative believed by most Black Americans. In fact, the opposite. Black Americans, and I don't want to say the number 70% because I don't want to remember wrong or guess wrong. If you can find it, great. If not, don't worry about it. I was struck by how not just pro-police, but please send in the National Guard too, because if you're black living in a black part of town, and if that's where the riots are, well, your shop got burned down if you were a shopkeeper. And by the way, if you're not a shopkeeper, well, that's where you go to shop. The corner store that you always go to, the corner restaurant, the corner convenience store, the dry cleaner or whatever, bar, restaurant, pawn shop, whatever, furniture store, whatever is on your corner, if it's burned down, obviously it's a tremendous loss to the property owner, but also to anyone who worked there, anyone who sold to there, and so obviously to every customer. And so that's boarded up, and they throw in the towel. And imagine doing that when they're already under stress from the pandemic. Anyhow, if you can't find it, don't worry. I'm going to read some super chats now. Chris Marchese, do you like Donald Trump? I already read that one. Thank you. The Great Awakening, $10. Why are we talking about a virus no more deadly than the flu when there are pedos running our government and trafficking our children under our noses. Well, we talk very frequently on Rebel News about the statistics of the pandemic. And I don't know my American stats that well, but in Canada, the virus peaks in second week of April. And it was pretty much had run its course by the end of May. June it was over, and we're almost in September. In many provinces, and even the mighty city of Toronto, days pass without a single death. There are vast swaths of Canada where there's not a single person in the hospital. I haven't looked at my Vancouver Island stats. I like Vancouver Island. I go there sometimes. 870,000 people in a place the size of Belgium. If I'm recalling correctly, there was like 6 or 9 people sick in the whole island. No one in the hospital, though. They just have the sniffles. They're at home or whatever. They're not even, they're just, okay, stay at home until you're done. I know from Alberta a week ago when I looked at the stats, there were a grand total of 12 people in the hospital in the ICU in the entire province of 4.5 million. I think it was a grand total of 6 people in the entire city of Edmonton, population of 1 million. So it's just, it's not even around anymore. It is not a pandemic anymore. I'm not saying it never was, but let me tell you one thing, in August 2020, it is not. Chris Marchese, $5, thanks for the great answer. Ezra for Prime Minister after O'Toole, laugh out loud. Yeah, I don't want to be Prime Minister. I mean, you would have the power if you became Prime Minister, and you would have the ability to try and fix problems, but so I suppose it would be a lie to say I wouldn't want to be Prime Minister, but to become Prime Minister is not a fit with my life's plans or my favorite things that I do, which is to, you know, the Rebel Express is my own ambitions. I did throw my hat in the ring 20 odd years ago when I ran for Parliament in Calgary Southwest, and I briefly was the candidate for the Canadian Alliance until I stepped aside for Stephen Harper. I can't imagine going back into elected office. I thought you should never say never, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Vito Anthony D, $5. I enjoyed the work on the video exposing CBC's obsessive political bias and their attack on O'Toole right off the hop. Great work. Yeah, you know, I mean, Aaron O'Toole is a left-winger when it comes to LGBTQ2+. Like, he's all the way down there. He might even defend Jonathan Yaniv for all I know. So he's all the way out there. So for the CBC to attack him on that just shows that the CBC is nothing more than Justin Trudeau's personal attack dog. Keean Enmark, $5. I grew up around that area. It was a very good place. Wisconsin, 95 to 99. It was not racist then. I don't believe it's racist now. I just don't. Veterans Voice, Chris Semchuk, $14. Help me, Menzoid. You're my only hope. Need the truth from Kingston City Council for their rushed integrated care hub with safe consumption site in 11th poorest neighborhood in Canada. Liars. Oh, sounds like maybe Justin has found. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Thank you for digging this up. So, can you zoom in on the National Guard? Okay, calling in the U.S. military. So, can you actually use Apple F or whatever, Control F, to find National Guard? Because the U.S. military, yeah, that's exactly it. So this was. Yeah, so National Guard, yeah, and then, yeah. So here we go. So let's read the question there. Just scroll up a tiny bit. Would you support or oppose cities taking the following measures to address protests and demonstrations in dozens of U.S. cities in response to the death of George Floyd? And then one of the options, calling in the National Guard to supplement city police forces. Now let me stop right there. That question describes the situation. They say protests and demonstrations. I personally would not support calling in the National Guard to stop a protest. I engage in protests myself, demonstrations. I demonstrate my point of view all the time. They didn't say riots, did they? They didn't say violence. They didn't say arson. If they would, you can imagine these numbers would be much higher. But even with that modest, I'm not going to call that deceptive, because maybe they were just asking about protests and demonstrations. So let's go to the answers. So would you support the National Guard? So registered voters, 42% strongly supported, another 29% supported. What's the math there? So that's 71%, but okay, that's registered voters. Let's go down to ethnicity. So you see ethnicity, and then go to the next page. Registered voters as ethnic African American. 24% strongly support it, plus 18%. So what's 24 plus 18? That's 42% of black voters say bring in the National Guard. And then go down a bit. I think there's a Democrat, Republican. So yeah. So registered Trump job. Vote. You see, voted House vote Democrat. You see that there? So if in 2018 you voted Democrat, see that line there? 35% say strongly support, 30 support. So 65% of Americans who voted Democrat in 2018 want the National Guard. Voted Hillary Clinton the year before. Can you pump up the size just one bit so I'm not squinting so much? There you go. 66%. 63, my mistake. 63% of Hillary Clinton voters want the National Guard. And I say again, the wording of the question, would you agree with me, was a little bit gentle, protests and demonstrations. I don't care about protests and demonstrations. I care about rioting. Oh, and very unfair. People who hate Trump. Yeah, good find. People who hate Trump, 61% of them want the National Guard. What's Trump got to do with not burning down my business, my house, my shop? Unfavorable of Trump, 63%. You love Trump, you know, you look at the number right above there, favorable of Trump. So that's 58%. So right underneath that, where it says favorable of Trump. 58% strongly, that's very favorable. 58 plus 28, so that's like 86% of people who like Trump want the National Guard. But is it not just as striking that 63% of Hillary voters want the National Guard? You see what I mean? So this narrative that black people, that liberals love violence, that's the media's point of view. That's the Black Lives Matter Antifa activist point of view. I remember this poll because I found it so striking. I thought, whoa, this is a race war. This is white versus black and the country's divided. Really? You ask black people, you ask Hillary voters, you ask liberals. I mean, there were so many, wasn't there so many different demographic breakdowns? That's why I remembered this poll. Because it didn't just give me the raw number or the compiled number. It disaggregated it into any possible question. Do you like Hillary? Did you vote Dem in 2018? Did you vote Hillary in 2016? Are you black? Are you white? Are you Hispanic? Are you rural? Are you poor? Are you rich? There's so many demographics there. Like, that's an amazing poll, you got to admit. Pretty much everybody likes the police if you ask them that question. Actually, that was a National Guard question. All right, let's get back to the Super Chats. MVP, $5 The left are using racial tensions to drive division. They are despicable. Yeah, and what I liked about that Morning Consult poll, it's Morning Consult, did I get that right? Yeah. Is that it shows that, like, you're a black person in a black community, why would you say, yeah, cool, burn my town down? Why would you say that? No one real says that. Viking Insane, $2. The Bolsheviks are here. Masks are about compliance. Oh, you bet they are. What's the difference between put your mask on and put your fist up? Both are about compliance. I'm going to show you a video about that in a minute. Paulo Estevez, $10. Do you know if anyone in the Edmonton area are charging businesses with discrimination because of the mask exemption? Well, maybe you're the first person, Paulo. Maybe it's time you did that. Fill out the form at fightthefines.com if there's a problem that you want to bring to our attention. Kevin Tennant, $5. Thanks, Ezra, for helping me stay politically sane. All the best to the Rebel team. Well, Kevin, thank you. If I keep you politically sane, well, who's going to keep me politically sane? Bill Howie, $2. Will O'Toole sacrifice Sloan to the media mob? Very interesting question. I think it's a test of who he is. Because if he bends the knee to the media mob, like a shark, once they get a taste of blood, they're not satisfied. They want more. And I think that Derek Sloan's comments about Theresa Tam were vigorous, but they were factually correct, and they were obviously not racial. They were, Theresa Tam works for the World Health Organization. That's the United Nations entity controlled by China. That is, how can you do that but also be loyal to Canada? That is not a racial question. I would ask that question if Theresa Tam was white, brown, pink, or blue. How can you be loyal to Canada if you're loyal to the World Health Organization in China? That's basically what Derek Sloan said. And Derek Sloan's own wife is a woman of color. To imply that he's racist is absurd, but the media will do that if I keep saying Patrick or Peter, if Aaron O'Toole consents to the media having a veto over his caucus or staff, then like a shark, they'll just keep wanting blood. You know, Shakespeare has an answer for everything. He has this beautiful line in Hamlet. Describing a wife's love for her husband. Let me just read this line from Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 2. Why, she would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. Isn't that nice? She would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. Can your appetite grow as you eat and eat and eat? Shakespeare thought so when he was talking about love. And I think so when I'm talking about the media's hate. If the media think they can fire an Aaron O'Toole staffer, caucus member, shadow cabinet member, well, their appetite will increase by what it feeds on, don't you think? Let's read some more super chats, and then I want to show you a video before we're out of time. Sorry, let me just open that up again. The Great Awakening, give Ezra a like and a share, everyone. Love Rebel News, thank you. A. Sudley, $10. All who voted Sloan Lewis must email or call O'Toole at least one time to let him know what policies we expect him to adopt and stand for. Let our voice be heard while we have the chance. Well, let me know how that goes. L. Wayne Matheson, $5. You look refreshed after the Conservative vote. Keep up the good work. You know what? I mean, I don't want to complain. But I went to bed at 3 a.m. on Saturday night. I don't know what I was staying up for. And then I went on such a long hike. And I'm not a hiker. Look at me. I'm not built for hiking. But I went on such a long hike. It was like 29 degrees Celsius. I went for like a 3-hour hike. I got the Fitbit stats to prove it. And I'm sort of tuckered. And I come home, I have a shower. I come here thinking it'll be 90 minutes. And I got an 8-hour shift. It was not the best night for me to pull an all-nighter, but I held up. I'm just making excuses. Koi, $12. It's been a pretty serious show today. Here's some money for snacks afterwards. Well, thank you very much. I've got the snack. Muzzle Flash, $5. BLM, Antifa, and the MSN are all very distracting. So what do you think about the whole food chain supply being broken down? I think I need a little bit more information to answer your question. I'm not sure what you mean by that. TrubyD, 44, $50. Whoa, thank you. I just took my kids to get their haircuts, and the way people feel empowered to make us wear masks brings out animosity from people. They had 4 single-seat chairs at least 10 feet apart, but had do not sit here signs on them. Doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. There's no science behind it. Truth on the Wind or Truth on the Wind, I'm not sure. $5. Report on MISC growing that all would be dead without ICU and stop the anti-mask BS. I saw this comment the other day. I got a Google MISC. I forget what that stands for. Fraser McBurney, $12. The commie Chinese are pumping into Canada fentanyl to destroy our economy, just like the British did to China with opium. I've seen that metaphor before, and I find it resonant. Hey, it's 12:54, and I wanted to show you the video. I was saying to Justin before I came in, this video is the most disturbing video I have seen in years. In fact, I had an emotional reaction to it similar. The last time I felt that way was when I interviewed a Yazidi rape slave who ran away from ISIS to Germany. And she told me what it was like to be a rape slave in the Islamic State. And I was so appalled and repulsed and shocked and enraged and scared by what she said. It left such a mark on me. I think that was 6 years ago, 5 years ago. This is obviously not on the same scale as that, but I had the same revulsion and disgust and discomfort and feeling of helplessness. Maybe I shouldn't make that analogy, but I'm just telling you, the grave emotional reaction I had to this video was similar to what I had when I interviewed this Yazidi rape slave. So this is from Australia, and I'm told by folks on Twitter, so I don't know if it's authoritative, that this was before the mandatory masks rule was brought in. Let's play this video in full. Take a look.
Keep the distance, please.
I'm distanced.
Not from me. See you later.
Excuse me, don't touch me.
You're quite in my way.
Excuse me, don't touch me. Excuse me. I've got all of that on video. No, you're not free to go. Please don't touch her. Don't touch me. You're not free to go. Do you understand? I'm recording this. She's asking you to remove her hand. Ma'am, you're now under arrest.
You're under arrest. Anyone else?
Can you please stop moving closer towards me?
What's that?
Can you stop moving closer towards me?
I'm not watching the ground.
Excuse me, she has her son with her and she's done nothing wrong.
What a joke. You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing.
You are scaring a child.
You're embarrassing.
You are trying to make a point. She has done nothing illegal.
Leave her alone.
Stop it, she has her son with her.
You're embarrassing. Leave her alone.
Can you please not get so close to me? I was social
embarrass yourselves.
distancing. You have come within 1.5 meters of me. I've been social distancing. Keep away from me. You just don't want me recording her.
Leave her alone. Let her hold her kid.
She has her child with her. You are disgusting. You are disgusting human beings. She has her child with her. This is appalling. Are you a mother? Are you a mother? Let her.
I hate that video so much. I saw some people say, well, why did she bring a child to a protest? I understand that if you bring a child to a large, rough, Black Lives Matter, Antifa style event, why would you do that? This was a woman standing by herself with her child on a street corner. You can bring your child to do that. And just as much as someone would say, well, why was her child there? Well, why were the police taking her away with her child there? What exactly was she doing wrong? She wasn't wearing a mask. Neither were the cops. She wasn't social distancing. Yeah, she was. It was the cops who came up to her. What was there, 4, 5, 6 cops there? That one cop who grinned when she was he was obviously pushing the other person who was filming that video away. What did she do wrong? Wasn't quite sure. What was the medical basis for her arrest? Wasn't quite sure. In terms of holistic health, was anything she was doing unhealthy? I don't think so. And compare that to the absolute certainty of mental unwellness, the stress and trauma on that child. But the glee of the police was what was palpable. Because I'm 48, and for decades I have challenged and criticized police state conduct in unfree countries: China, Hong Kong, Iran, North Korea, Russia, Cuba, Venezuela. Can you put my tweet up from this morning on this subject, or last night, whenever I did it? And I started off by talking about the consent of the citizens to be governed and to be policed. And here's what I wrote when I tweeted this. I said, do not think that our generation is superior to any other. Do not think that if it were us in Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia that we would have resisted, that our police would have refused orders, that our media would have resisted, that you would have. Really, have you resisted? You think you're different than the mass of people who went along with the Soviet Union, the mass of people who went along with Nazi Germany. You really think you're different? You really think you would stand on principle and you would speak out against society? Really? Have you spoken out? Or are you the opposite? Are you a mask snitch? There's no medical basis for it. There's just a political basis. So are you the kind of person that is fine with this? And why are you fine with it? Because the police said so? There's no medical basis. What they've done here is, at the very least, violating social distancing, and quite obviously extremely deleterious to the health of the child. So why are you in support of it? Because they're cops and she's not, and so if the cops say do it, you do it. And if the cops do it because a politician said to them to do it, so you're fine with that. The mask laws out there are so stupid. And you know they're stupid. They make no sense. You know, go to maskexemption.ca if you want to see some of the ridiculous laws out there. You know, I read the Transport Canada rules. Can I tell you the rules for flying? You have to have a mask to go into an airport. Not wear it, you have to have it. Then you have to wear it when you go through security. Then you can take it off when you go past security if you social distance. Then when you're in the line to get on the plane, you must put it back on because you're not social distancing. And then you must take it off when you board the plane to have your face checked with your ID card. And then you must wear it when you're on the plane, except when you're having a drink or a snack, when you can take it off. You're in this big tube in the sky for hours. You can take an hour to have your lunch or dinner or whatever, or snacks on the plane, and you can have your mask off, but then as soon as you're done, an hour later, you've got to put that mask. Don't tell me there's science here, folks. Just do not tell me there is science here. That's a bit of an IQ test. Do you think, it's like all these celebrity exemptions. Does the virus know who's a celebrity and who isn't? So don't tell me that there's science behind this. So if we can all agree that there's no science behind this, are you fine with that as a justification for doing to that woman what was done to her? You fine with that? Did you like how the cop smiled and blocked the camera? That's a Hong Kong move, isn't it? That's an Iran move, isn't it? I found that video so troubling. I've watched it 3 times now. I don't want to watch it anymore. And you say that's in Australia, which is very far away. Australia is very far away. But culturally, they're our cousins. They're much closer to us, Australians, culturally, historically, legally, politically, than France, than Germany, than Mexico. Mexico's closer, but Australia's closer, if you know what I mean. Do you really think there aren't police in Canada, the United States, UK? We know there are. David Menzies did a video that went up yesterday about two senior citizens who were in a shopping mall. Do we have time to show a little bit of that? I know it's already 1:04. Do we have a hard out? Do we have to? I want to show a little bit of the video that David Menzies put up yesterday. He went up to Thunder Bay. Let's play half of it. Here's David in Thunder Bay. Take a look.
I had the door open about this much, and they came from behind me and slammed the door closed and threw me against the vehicle, and then put handcuffs on me and told me I was under arrest.
Can't be recording in here, first of all.
Oh, we can't?
Nope.
Okay. We were trying to get Stacy Bull.
Are you recording right now? You have to turn that off. It's private property.
It's pretty shocking that in 2020, a mall, a public space that's open to people, that has an obligation to ensure that the people inside of this facility are safe, doesn't have any video surveillance.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And folks, I'm with Arrow and Carol Jensen. They live here in Thunder Bay. And on July 15th, they came here to the Intercity Shopping Center, and you're just to do a little bit of shopping. And then what happened?
Then we went to go sit on the steps, and within minutes, the security guard had come up to us.
Security guard said that we couldn't be sitting on the steps because it was against the law.
Now Arrow, the reason why he was saying that, I suppose, is that the food court was still closed down due to the Wuhan virus. It hadn't reopened yet. And I guess they didn't want people loitering around. But you are dealing right now with prostate cancer. You get tired. So you weren't there to, I don't know, camp out. You were just there to take a little break before you resumed your journey into the parking lot. He had no empathy at all for your predicament.
Nothing. He just was targeting Carol. And I said about the mask, I said, that's the worst thing you could be doing is wearing these masks. I mean, you're cutting off your oxygen. And I said, and I need all the oxygen I can get, you know, in my condition.
So then we got up and we started walking out.
And as we were coming towards the exit, I was walking ahead of them. Apparently he had hollered out to Carol that, well, Merry Christmas. And he said that we were banned for life, the two of us. And he said that we have to vacate the premises. And we just said, that's fine, we're leaving now, and we proceeded to cross into the parking lot to head for our vehicle.
Now, surely this must be the end of the story. Oh, but there's another epilogue, because you went to your new Buick SUV, and it should be noted, folks, you have a handicap parking sticker. You are parked in a handicapped space, and lo and behold, that security guard was not done with you yet, correct?
That's correct. He wasn't done with us yet. I had the door open about this much, and they came from behind me and slammed the door closed and threw me against the vehicle, and then put handcuffs on me and told me I was under arrest. And then I had been saying to him, call the police, because I was, trying to, get away from it, eh? And I got thrown against the vehicle, I don't know how many times. And then because I got thrown this way and I got thrown this way.
Certainly these must have been very powerful throws. There was $2,500 worth of damage done on your vehicle, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. There was just two behind me, but then there was they had called a third one that he had heard of. And then there was three, and one of them, I don't know which one, was saying, throw her to the ground, and you've
shown me some photos of some severe bruising and scrapes that you endured from that day. But why do they want to throw you to the ground?
I don't know.
What did you feel like? What was your reaction when you saw your wife being manhandled this way?
I felt horrible, but I figured if I react on this, I will end up in jail. But I said, I have to keep my cool and not say anything or do anything to these security guards. They're going to do their thing, and Carol asked me to call the police, and the one security guard right then says, we already did.
Yeah, and now here's where the story gets even more bizarre. The police come, and oh yeah, folks, there was an assault charge laid against Carol. Carol, How do you connect those dots?
Well, I didn't know when I was told I was charged for assault, I didn't know what for. And then I was told because I spit on the security guard.
And did you spit on the security guard or anyone else?
No. Okay. No.
And now, of course, an interesting twist, which we just learned recently, is that malls like the Intercity Shopping Center, they have surveillance video. And you just heard from your local Thunder Bay lawyer, Mr. Richard Garrett, in the process of disclosure. Lo and behold, there's no videotape.
No, there isn't.
As far as he knows, there was no videotape.
You actually have to go to a police station and get mugshots and fingerprints. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In the aftermath of this, has anyone from the mall or the security guard company reached out to you?
No, not at all. We didn't even know what company the security guard was until we found out later on. It's Garda World.
Interesting. And I should say, folks, we have reached out to the general manager of the mall for several days now. None of our calls have been returned. We're going to go in. Let's see if the general manager or anyone else in the administration can somehow justify what happened to the Jensens last month. Excuse me, sir. Hi, I'm David Menzies with Rebel News, and I'm just doing a story about the Jensens.
Really sorry, I just joined 1 week back.
1 week ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so you weren't even here in July. Okay, then. Would there be, do you have a colleague here maybe that we could talk to, or? Okay, thank you so much. Hi, sir. My name is David Menzies with Rebel News, and I'm...
Can't be recording in here, first of all.
Oh, we can't?
Nope.
Okay. We were trying to get Stacy Ball.
Are you recording right now? You have to turn that off. It's private property.
Okay, so do you want to go outside?
Code of conduct, it's on the door here.
Okay. Do you want to go outside and...
Come look at the door.
It goes on for a while. I encourage you to watch the whole thing at fightthefines.com. I presume it's up on that website. I'm going to check right now. Fight the Fines is our attempt to fight back on the civil liberties side. Yeah, I see our video there. Most of the fines are just tickets. This is a criminal charge. We've signed a contract with that lawyer for thousands of dollars to represent Carol. If you want to help us, you can go to fightthefines.com. I guess that's my small way of telling you what I would do if I were in troubled times in the past, because I think we're in troubled times in the present. So that's what we're doing here. If you don't know what to do, if you don't know how to fight back, maybe this is a way. Maybe you can find another way. We fight back journalistically. We tell the other side of the story. But sometimes that's not enough just to tell a story. Who will do something? So I think that the case of the Jensens, that's that senior couple there, I think that's our 12th case we've taken in the pandemic. If I were in Australia, I would track down that lady and her boy, and I would seek to represent them. I'm not in Australia. It's too far for me to try and operate in. I don't really have a command of the situation there. So we're doing what we can here in Canada. These are dangerous days, and conformity is being demanded both by radicals on the street who demand you put up your fist in solidarity with a Marxist group called Black Lives Matter, or demand you put on a muzzle for no scientific reason. Just like the fist won't stop racism, the muzzle won't stop the pandemic, which ended in May. It's about conformity and submission and bending your knee to the mob. Will you? Will you? I'm going to whip through a couple super chats and then wrap it up, okay? Clayton Lee, $5. I will be going to Ottawa on Saturday for a freedom rally. I hope many will be there. We'll have a reporter there. Where we go one, we go all. £3. It's a pounds, yeah. Folks, it's 1:14. I've gone 14 minutes long. Thanks for your support with the super chats. I found that video with the mom and her son extremely depressing. I shouldn't have shown it. I should have shown it, but not watched it again. I find that so sad. So when you're sad, watching a dog video can make you 5 to 35% happier. Justin curates these dog videos. I don't even see them before he publishes them. So why don't I say goodbye to you now? See you at 8 p.m. for my premium show. And let's leave with some dog video that'll hopefully make us feel better. Here we go.
She's not, she's not clucking or anything.
Look at her peeking.
Oh, thank you God for animals. They're so fun.